Ohayo gozaimasu!
안녕하세요.
Bonjour!
Hola amigos y amigas.
Good morning.
Today we're going to introduce a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious presentation. Yes, you've heard it right. Isn't it a great day to learn about the Western music literature?
Wait, talking all about Western music literature, isn't that a broad topic? Can we just specify a certain topic?
Yes,
And what topic would it be, Mr. ANAJAO?
I think it's the Baroque period. What is Baroque? Did you know that the term Baroque has been widely used since the 19th century to describe the period in Western European art, music from about 1600s to 1750, derived from the Portuguese word barroco, which means oddly shaped pearl, or a negative description of the ornate and heavily ornamented music of the period. However, when describing the music of the Baroque period, a better definition might be exuberant.
Comparing some of music history's greatest masterpieces to a misshapen pearl might seem strange to us today, but to the 19th century, critics who applied the term, the music of Bach and Handel's era sounded overly ornamented and exaggerated. Having long since shed its derogatory connotations, Baroque is now simply a convenient catch-all for one of the richest and most diverse periods in music history. In addition to producing the earliest European music familiar to most of us, including Pachelbel's Canon and Vivaldi's The Four Seasons, the Baroque era also greatly expanded our horizons. The acceptance of Copernicus' 16th century theory that the planets didn't revolve around the Earth made the universe a much larger place, while Galileo's work helped us get better acquainted with the cosmos. Advances in technology, such as the invention of the telescope, made what was believed to be finite seem infinite. Great thinkers like Descartes, Hobbes, Spinoza, and Locke tackled the big questions of existence. Geniuses like Rubens, Rembrandt, and Shakespeare offered unique perspectives through their art. European nations grew more and more involved with foreign trade and colonization.
And that's how the Baroque period started.
Let's talk about the characteristics of Baroque period. There are 7 characteristics of Baroque period. First, the basso continuo and also known as figured bass. Second one is one mood throughout the interpiece. And the third one is important string sections. The fourth one is moods were replaced by the major minor key system. And the fifth one is many different forms are used. Example are binary and fugue. The sixth one is many types of music. Example of that is the chorale, the opera, the dance track. And the last characteristic is the energetic rhythms. Like for example, the exuberance, long melodies, many ornaments, contrasts, especially dynamics, but also
The basso continuo, or also known as figure bass, is a sort of musical shorthand that provides a framework for playing the bass line of the piece. The bass parts were usually played by the string bass along with either the harpsichord or the organ, which also played an improvised chord part, while most of the orchestra played parts that were written out note by basso continuo was simply sketched out in a figure bass notation. One mood throughout the entire piece. This is also called the doctrine of affections. Composers in the Baroque period attempted to communicate pure emotion in their music. There was nothing autobiographical in their compositions, meaning that a composer never tried to write a happy song because he was happy that day. Rather, they were trying to write music that perfectly expressed the range of human emotions. Important string sections. During the medieval period, the human voice was the predominant instrument, and nearly all music was written for voice. Gregorian chants had no accompaniment. The motets and madrigals of this period had some accompaniment, usually an organ or harpsichord. However, Baroque composers began giving greater attention to the violin, viola, cello, and string bass and the root many pieces that brought these instruments to the forefront of the orchestra. Moods were replaced by the major or minor key system. Medieval music was written in the moods that did not allow for changes from one mood to another. If a song started in mood 1, it ended in mood 1 with no possible way to shift to mood 2. With the invention of the major and minor key system, it became possible for a composers to modulate from one key to another related key. Many different forms are used. Chants, motets, and madrigals were written in a single form and allowed for very little variations. Baroque music was a time for experimentation and expansion. Composers began writing pieces in many forms, most of which followed some kind of fast-slow fast format. Binary music was two forms, fast and slow. Fugues were complex and complicated variations on a single melody that built organically from that single melody into rich and varied musical tapestries. Many types of music. Prior to the Baroque period, most music was written exclusively for use in religious services. Some of these pieces, the masses, were formed in such a way to allow very little experimentation or variation. As the Baroque progressed, musicians began writing more and more religious music for use in services other than the Mass. Secular music, pieces written either for royalty and the courts after the general public, became popular during the Baroque period. Baroque composers wrote thousands of pieces for both sacred and secular use. Energetic rhythms, long melodies, many ornaments, contrasts. The music of the medieval period, chants, motets, and madrigals, was mostly slow and fairly uniform in style and mood. The voice still dominated as the main instrument, with a few harpsichords and organs thrown in as accompaniment. That changed dramatically in the Baroque as composers began experimenting with new rhythmic structures, long complicated melodies, trills, and other musical ornaments, and a wide variety of contrasts, both dynamically and in the timbre or texture of the music.
That's all. Thank you.
So, moving on, there are two traditional forms in Baroque music, which is the vocal music and the instrumental music. So, under the vocal music are the opera, oratorio, and the cantata. In the instrumental music is the sonata, concerto, and the suite.
The opera, a drama that is primarily sung, accompanied by instruments, and presented on stage. It is typically alternate between recitative or speech-like song that advances the plot, and arias that are songs in which characters express feeling at particular points in the action. The subjects of the first operas are all taken from Greek myth, reflecting the genre's close alliances with attempts to recreate the music and drama of ancient cultures, and were performed solely in aristocratic circles for invited guests. The oratorio, an extended musical drama with a text based on religious subjects matter intended for performance without scenery, costume, or action. The cantata, an extended piece consisting of a succession of recitatives and set pieces such as arias, duets, and choruses. Under the instrumental music, the first one is the sonata. The term sonata most commonly designated a work in several movements for one or more instruments, most frequently violins and bass continuo. The concerto, derived from the Italian word concertare, to join together or to unite. The concerto took several forms during the Baroque era. The suite, the first multi-movement work for instruments. The suite was essentially a series of dances in the same key, most or all of them in two-part form.
Okay, let's proceed to the traditional instruments of the Baroque music. Okay, the typical orchestra of the Baroque period is based on stringed instruments like violin, viola, and continuo. A continuous bass is the rule in Baroque music. Its absence is worth mentioning and has a reason, such as describing fragility. The specific character of a movement is often defined by wind instruments, such as oboe, oboe da cassia, oboe di amore, flauto traverso, recorder, trumpet, horn, trombone, and timpani.
So we have here some examples of the traditional instruments in the Baroque period. The trumpet is a musical instrument in the brass family. It is a wind instrument consisting of a conical or cylindrical, usually metal tube, a cup-shaped mouthpiece, and a flared bell, specifically a valved brass instrument having a cylindrical tube with two turns and the usual range from F sharp below middle C upward for 2.5 octaves. The viol or viola da gamba is a fretted and stringed musical instrument that first appeared in the mid to late 15th century and was most popular in the Renaissance and Baroque periods. The recorder is a woodwind musical instrument which is end-blown, and the mouth of the instrument is constricted by a wooden plug known as a block or fipple. The harpsichord is a keyboard musical instrument in which strings are set in vibration by plucking. Furthermore, a stringed instrument resembling a grand piano, but usually having two keyboards and two or more strings for each note and producing tones by the plucking of strings with plectra. The lute. It can refer generally to any string instrument having the strings running in a plane parallel to the sound table, or in the horn-bustle satch system. More specifically, to any plucked string instrument with a neck either fretted or unfretted, and a deep round back, or more specifically to an instrument from the family of European lutes.
Moving on to the last topic of this subject are the persons behind the Baroque period. I mean, who are they? What have they contributed on this period? What brought them to the place that made them well known in this period? Here are the list of the persons and the reasons why they belong to this period. Johann Sebastian Bach, born on the 31st of March, 1685, and died on the 28th day of July, 1750. He was a German composer, organist, harpsichordist, violist, and a violinist of the Baroque period. Bach's compositions include the Brandenburg Concertos, the Mass in D minor, the Well-Tempered Clavier, more than 200 cantatas, 2 passions, and keyboard works. His music is revered for its intellectual depth, technical command, and artistic beauty. George Friedrich Handel, born on the 23rd day of February 1685 and died on the 14th day of April 1759. He was a German-born British Baroque composer famous for his operas, oratorios, anthems, and organ concertos. Born in a family indifferent to music, Handel received critical training in Halle, Hamburg, and Italy before settling in London. In 1712, as a naturalized British subject in 1727. By then, he was strongly influenced by the great composers of the Italian Baroque and the Middle German polyphonic choral tradition. Handel is regarded as one of the greatest composers of the Baroque era, with works such as Water Music, Music for the Royal Fireworks, and Messiah for the Remaining Popular. Alessandro Scarlatti, born on the 2nd day of May 1660 and died on the 22nd day of October 1725. He was an Italian Baroque composer, especially famous for his operas and the chamber cantatas. He is considered the founder of the Napoleonic School of Opera. He was the father of the 2 other composers, Domenico Scarlatti and Pietro Filippo Scarlatti. Scarlatti's music forms an important link between the early Baroque Italian vocal styles of the 17th century, with their centers in Florence, Venice, and Rome, and the classical school in the 18th century. Scarlatti's style, however, is more than a transitional element in Western music. Like most of his Naples colleagues, shows an almost modern understanding of the psychology of modulation, and also frequently makes use of the ever-changing phrase lengths, so typical of the Napoli school. Giuseppe Domenico Scarlatti, born on the 26th day of October 1685 and died on the 23rd day of July 1757. He was an Italian composer who spent much of his life in the service of the Portuguese and Spanish royal families. He is classified as a Baroque composer chronologically, although his music was influential in the development of the classical style. Like his renowned father, Alessandro Scarlatti, he composed in a variety of musical forms, although today he is known mainly for his 555 keyboard sonatas. Antonio Lucio Vivaldi, born on the 4th day of March 1678 and died on the 20th day of July 1741. He was nicknamed as Il Prete Rosso, or the Red Priest. It is because of his red hair. He was also an Italian Baroque composer, Catholic priest, and virtuoso violinist born in Venice. Recognized as one of the greatest Baroque composers, his influence during his lifetime was widespread over Europe. Vivaldi is known mainly for composing instrumental concertos, especially for violin, as well as sacred choral works and over 40 operas. His best-known work is a series of violin concertos known as the Four Seasons. Vivaldi's music was innovative. He brightened the formal and rhythmic structure of the concerto in which he looked for harmonic contrasts and innovative melodies and themes. Many of his compositions are flamboyantly, almost playfully exuberant. Francois Couperin, born on the 10th day of November 1668 and died on the 11th day of September 1733. He was a French Baroque composer, organist, and harpsichordist. He was known as Couperin le Grand or Couperin the Great to distinguish him from other members of the musically talented Couperin family. His most famous book, The Art Liturgique sur le Clavecin, The Art of Harpsichording Playing, published in 1716, contains suggestions for fingerings, touch, ornamentation, and other features of keyboard technique. Couperin's 4 volumes of harpsichord music, published in Paris in 1713, 1717, 1720, and 1730, contain over 230 individual pieces which can be played on solo harpsichord or performed as small chamber works. Jean-Philippe Heramiz, born on the 25th day of September 1683 and died on the 12th day of September 1764. He was one of the most important French composers and music theorists of the Baroque era. He replaced Jean-Baptiste Lully as the dominant composer of French opera and is also considered the leading French composer of the harpsichord of his time, alongside Francois Couperin. Heramiz's musical works may be divided into 4 distinct groups: motets, cantatas, instrumental music, and opera. And here are the list of the persons in the Baroque era. As you can see, there are a lot of persons involved in this era, but what we have shown you are the most important and influential person in this era. And those are the persons who belong at the Baroque period, together with their contributions and some of the details you need to know about them so that you'll be able to understand and know the persons who made Baroque period a very well-known period. That would be all for this report. Bye-bye. I didn't. Oh, hey there!
Hi guys!
So guys, have you learned something about, the
Our topic today?
Yeah.
Well, I guess and never guess. I'm pretty sure they have learned something from our report.
Yeah,
because
right.
We have reported them thoroughly. And we do hope that we have unlocked something in your mind and we have added some knowledge into your minds so that you can use it in the near future whenever you need it to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is our report all about the Baroque period. Bye guys, till next
Bye
time.
guys!